Each year, the New Mexico Foundation for Open Government presents the William S. Dixon First Amendment Freedom Award in honor of the late Bill Dixon. Bill was a renowned media lawyer, First Amendment champion, and FOG co-founder. Bill understood that the First Amendment was first in the Bill of Rights for a reason, and he inspired a generation of UNM law students to care deeply about the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. Bill was also crucial in shaping FOG's core belief that the First Amendment and open government are closely linked. How are they linked? Simply put, your First Amendment rights to speak freely, to publish information, and to lobby our government are hollow rights unless you know what your government is doing. Your right to know gives weight and meaning to your freedom of speech. This year, we honor 4 individuals and 1 organization who are living out the spirit and promise of our First Amendment.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof,
or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press,
or the right of the people peaceably to assemble,
and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Open government is the way that we ensure that our government officials are held accountable for their actions. The dangers of closed government create a danger to democracy itself. The reason I say that is because if you look back through history and some of the current events we're seeing in the Arab world, secrecy is the friend of waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption, if not dictatorship.
When I realized I was going to Santa Fe, I was looking for something that I could really kind of get my arms around and get involved in, something that I could take ownership of and work on over a period of time during my tenure in the legislature. And I was having a conversation with one of my fellow legislators, and we were talking about transparency in government and the ability of people to have some oversight in the process. So I began to do a little bit of research, and I realized that other states were creating sunshine portals or transparency websites for the business of their government as far as expenditures and taxation. Just the business of government was being made available online. I found out that New Mexico didn't have anything in place at that time. So it just seemed to me to be the right thing to do, and again, I was new enough. I didn't have other reasons not to. It just felt like the right thing to do. We're talking about taxpayer dollars after all, so the taxpayers of this state have every right to know who is working for them in state government, how much they're being paid, and what their position is in state government. Looking ahead a little bit, I was successful last year with some help to get another bill passed that would require the school districts in the state of New Mexico to put their financial information online. And at some point, I hope a lot of cities and municipalities, counties will begin to, put their information in a user-friendly way online for citizens of New Mexico to begin to access that information too.
The League of Women Voters bases all of its action on the availability of open government. We're a nonpartisan political organization that focuses on action, advocacy, and education of the community on how the government works, what the government's doing. So we completely depend on open government.
We conducted a lot of interviews with staff in the county and discovered, we always started with the question, what does transparency mean to you? And what we discovered was that it meant a lot to them, and they were very, very much in favor of it. Their best compliance was with inspection of public records, and we would talk to just line-level staff and say, what do you do when you're asked for a record? Well, they would say, I'm not the owner of this record, We are just the custodians of the records. You, the public, own the records. They're your records, so we want to provide them to you. And I would ask them, what custodian and owner, where do you get that language? Well, they didn't really know. Well, it's in the statute. They were being trained, one person to another, as the jobs were handed off. And they genuinely wanted to be open. They genuinely wanted people to get what they needed. Open meetings notices, the compliance was very poor, and it was mainly bad training and lack of coordination. It was not evil intent at all. It was just that they weren't organized correctly around those tasks. Once they figured that out, they've been much better. All of the members of the committee were very impressed with the level of service and the attitudes on the part of the staff. It really made us proud.
The time is right the time was right to bring this bill, and the time is right now for people to engage in this process. Technology is going to be evolving. It's going to be changing, and a lot of these transparency websites that you see now are going to evolve and change too. Nothing is static in this process. So it's exciting to look ahead and see what possibilities are there for us to begin to expand these transparency websites, and in the case of New Mexico, the Sunshine Portal, so we can get more information out there to people in real time and in different formats, and allow them the ability to work with that data and that information to get from it what they really want.
I worked on one about air pollution because we have a air monitoring thing down the street from here, and I was wondering if there was a reason why it was here, because at our school we have a lot of kids with asthma, and I was wondering if it was something that would affect our health, and so we filed a public records request for the records because we have 2 nearby facilities that work with things like gravel.
Obviously, we are teaching journalism, and we want to teach those skills, news gathering and confirming from original sources. And so open meetings and public records are very important for that process. But ultimately, we want our student reporters to become engaged and empowered citizens who know how to seek out information independently and how to be inquiring and scrutinize what they're told by their government.
I think they've been really in tune with their right to know, and they've been inquisitive. Part of the reason is because this charter school, teaches the International Baccalaureate curriculum, and I believe that gives them a strong foundation for having a little broader base of knowledge about social issues, not just here in Albuquerque or New Mexico, but other cultures around the world.
I didn't know that you could ask people for documents that you had a right to it. I didn't know that before. And I learned just how to put out good news stories.
I learned how to file an open records request, and that was really cool because I did it twice and I got responses.
Secrecy, unfortunately, still exists within our system. And in some cases, secrecy has legitimate purposes. There are, of course, national security concerns in our federal government where secrets can be an important part of that role that our federal government plays. In the state government level, however, there should be very few things that should be kept secret. The mechanisms of government are used to keep information from the press, which in turn keeps information from the people. And typically, in my experience, that has been information that has proved a source of embarrassment to elected officials or to a particular department. Many times there is this misperception, perhaps on both sides, of what the goals of each side are. On the government side, I think there's sometimes a misperception that, oh, this is a reporter from such and such newspaper, such and such television station, and he or she is out to get us. On the news media side, there is sometimes a misperception that there's something where there is smoke, there's fire, there's something that the government agency is truly trying to hide here. Sometimes that's not the case. And I think that the best way as a government official, at least my experience, to handle such issues was to allow, to have the dialogue with the member of the news media seeking information or seeking records, and figure out if together you can collaborate on getting the information to the media. I think the more that there can be collaboration on those issues, I think the better off both sides will be. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen, and unfortunately, that's when sometimes I have to come in and help out. There's plenty of work to be done in the field of open records, in the field of open meetings. There's plenty of minds to be changed within state, local, county government, that really, this is a matter of sharing with the people what information that is really their information, not the government's, as opposed to an us versus them mentality.
I think it's important that people know the truth about what goes on in our school and our community, so that's why I joined.
FOG is proud to honor these open government advocates. They are in the trenches protecting and advancing your ability to find out what your government is doing. That's FOG's guiding purpose. Regardless of who's in power, FOG believes in your right to ask tough questions and demand answers. We've all been promised government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And only an open, transparent government can truly fulfill that promise. Congratulations to the 2011 recipients of the William S. Dixon First Amendment Freedom Award. May you long continue the fight.